Do you need us to sit over there?
Take Filipinos by you.
She's had lunch with her. She smells it.
Send you over.
Do you feel better, more comfortable? No, you don't? She's a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm fine. I was going to introduce myself. Jennifer Ivy.
Hi, Jennifer. Yolanda.
Nice to meet you. This is Puma. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah, the treats here are a little bit
no
nicer
dog
than
on
the
me.
dog. Everybody loves the arcade treats are nicer.
Yeah.
I was walking out with Turner and they'd put out the treats. I said, wow, those are a little nicer than the PPACG ones. He goes, you know what? I'm here, they're not. And he took a Rice Krispie for the road.
Yeah, see, I kind of look at this like a church social.
Yeah.
I got to try them both. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah.
There's probably a worker in the bakery at Safeway that would be greatly offended. We got 5 minutes to go. You can't start till exactly on time.
Okay.
I'm sure I was teasing with time. What did you do? You kicked off Bill? What do you mean? Did you replace Bill?
Andy said you didn't want to be where you were.
Yeah, if you
Make dogs.
don't shape up your attitude, we're taking you off too.
Oh, please, Mark, let's do it.
I agree, man.
You don't give my dog in his car.
I didn't say it in that one.
Oh,
I
my
asked,
God.
I asked,
totally-
I
That was-
asked if Puma shed, and she said yes.
Well, no, I said, so you're going to take me? And he's like, but Puma
I said, does Puma
does.
shed? No, I asked, does Puma shed?
And I said yes.
And you said yes, and then before I could say anything, Andy said, oh,
No,
that was
because you
no
didn't say anything. You were like, no, I don't know.
Yolanda, I
That's
didn't tell you this, but when I gave you a
I
ride,
always count, I was just calculating, I'm sorry, I was gonna
I
say
gave
yes, but
You
then
don't want
Andy
anything there
said,
in his car.
when I gave you a ride down to City Hall,
Yeah.
that night,
Raven?
Raven got in the back of the truck and goes, "You've been cheating on me.
see,
I smell another dog in here."
You can see. Merv didn't hesitate to give me a
Well,
ride.
he knows his disenfranchised people.
Oh my God.
It's who he is.
everybody just likes me.
It's who he is.
The back
Oh
of
my
my
God. He's off my list.
Listen,
the back of my truck has so much dog hair
squad
here.
and officer school.
All I did was ask one question.
But what was where was your heart? You didn't want a dog. That's what the bottom line.
It's more like he didn't want a Democrat.
Well, I've been in his car with.
Yeah, but he
Twice,
didn't
that's
like
not
it.
Okay, yeah.
Who was chewing on a napkin under the
Oh my goodness.
I'm guessing that's a disallowed.
Well, I had to file a complaint with Yolanda yesterday. Puma came into my office, came over for me to scratch his head,
See, did you hear? Someone could have done something in his car.
and then tried to get in my trash can. I wouldn't let him in the trash can. Puma looked at me like, "Man, I'm cutting you off. I'm out of here." I thought it was rude.
After Bill is so good. I mean, it's so good to him.
That's funny. 2 years old, huh?
Yeah.
What a temperament.
I know, he's still a baby.
Not that they'd be more
I would
likely.
have guessed
I
he
think
was
he'd be
7 or 8 years
hyper
old.
still, wouldn't he? Yeah. No, he's a
He's
good.
lively, isn't he, Bert?
He's a great dog.
Well, this morning
He runs up and down City Hall.
he came in and laid down.
Yeah. I was telling Mark that Puma has not found a meeting that he could not sleep through.
Oh, he slept the whole meeting.
Herb, I sleep through most of our meetings.
Hey, I heard you on the radio the other day.
You did?
Yeah, you were talking about the market. I heard you were going to be on, so I was
Welcome, Mayor.
the lady, what did she say? The internet's, are you in government or something? It's just with the mayor.
It's great.
She's like, oh, that's right, you're the mayor, I do that.
It's nice sometimes, but it's not about that.
Right.
I think we're getting him back into the swing. Good. Keep working on it.
He's got himself a beard.
Oh, yeah, he's kind of going something, John.
Something.
Oh, the beard.
Also a tax to be taken off.
Oh, they do? And his granddaughter had a birthday party out at the house this weekend. They were both in the family. Yesterday, they didn't do it, it was Monday, they didn't do anything outdoor dishes. They said little kids fought along.
They can do that. We sometimes, when they're here, we take all 5 grandkids up to our cabin with us.
How old are they?
From 14 down to 3. And we have so much fun, and we are exhausted when it's over with.
Vacation from vacation.
But we love it, every minute of it. It's just they have so much energy.
County's doing a water master. It used to be.
Yeah, we usually go up there just to relax and get away, but the grandkids are there. That's not going to happen.
It's not on vacation, just as about relaxing.
Yeah.
We went to Europe last year. It took me a month to recover when I got home.
I've done the same thing.
Vacation is hard work.
It is, I mean, we just 100 miles an hour every day.
Well, not only that, but I find when I take a week off from work, I have to work twice as hard to leave and 3 times as hard when I come back.
Yeah, that's true too.
When you go 2 weeks, it's a little better. When you go 3 weeks,
Okay,
people
I think
work
we can
around
get
you.
started.
Let's do it. Oh, wait, he's got a note.
Notes, incoming.
Ooh, a note.
Go see the principal.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the PPRTA Board of Directors to order. We do have a quorum. And board members, you've all seen the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
And opposed? Okay. Before we get started, just want to remind you that immediately following this, we have a joint meeting with the CAC in order to get to talk with each other. So please don't leave right after the meeting. We'll reconvene after everybody takes the appropriate break, and I'll leave it at that, and we'll go from there. Also, the staff has requested with our CAC friends here that we get a picture of the board and the CAC together when we come back. And we may have trouble finding a camera that will last through that, but and I'm blaming that mainly on the board. But is there anybody in the audience like to speak to an item that's not on the agenda? I don't see any hands, so we'll keep moving forward. We do have with us, and they're not here right now, so I'm going to delay this. We have 2 resolutions of appreciation for 2 members who have left the board. But Rick, would it be okay if I delay that until they show up? Okay, all right. The minutes of the meeting for May 10th were sent to you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. And let's go to the presentation of the 2016 audit. Good news, Bev, are you doing that? Oh, no.
Oh, that's good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name's Kyle Logan. I'm the owner of Logan and Associates, the PPRTA's audit firm, and I am here to present the results of the audit of the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2016. There are 2 documents that you have in your packet. One is the financial statements, and the other is what I refer to as a management letter. And so the financial statements, all the numbers, all the footnote disclosures in this document are responsibility of the authority's management. And so, you, the board, has engaged our firm to audit these as an independent CPA firm and provide an opinion on the financial statements. And so our audit process is we usually come out, I believe, around the middle to the end of April, and to to audit the financial statements, and part of our process is confirming some of the balances, for instance, the cash balances that are presented in the financial statements, as well as the sales tax revenues that you receive from the state. We also do some of the verification related to the transit revenues that the authority receives from the city. And so from that, then we also pick samples of disbursements, checks that are written primarily for the different projects, and to verify that, one, okay, are these expenditures that are being approved and paid, are they on the list that the voters approved? And we look at both the original, initial capital A list, and we also look at the renewal capital A list to make sure that, yes, these expenditures are being recorded in the proper accounts related to that. And so that's more of a compliance test, because to me that's where your risk is if those expenses are being submitted and not being tracked properly. And I will say that as far as the approval process and the work that staff with Beverly and Rick, as far as going through those, is probably one of the better approval processes I see with my clients. And that's all a reflection on you, the board, and your predecessors as far as setting up policies and procedures, okay? And so we do all that process, and in the end, as a result, that is when we are able to and comfortable with issuing an opinion on the financial statements. And so the document following the table of contents, the independent auditor's report, the first page talks about our responsibility, talks about management's responsibility, and then at the paragraph at the top of the second page, page B, the opinions, to me that's the most important paragraph in this document. And that is that the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority received an unmodified opinion for the year ended December 31st, 2016. What does that mean? In layman's terms, that means that's a clean opinion. So that's the best that a local government can receive from an audit firm. What does that tell you about everything following this report? It tells you that all the numbers, all the footnote disclosures in this document are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles for a local government. Okay? And so there were no issues with going through. We did not make any adjustments to the records. So that also tells you that the information that you have been receiving throughout the year is the information that's in this report. Okay? Any questions on the financial statements?
Any questions for Kyle? Okay.
Okay. So then moving on to the management letter, again, our professional standards require us to communicate certain things to you, the governing board of the authority. And so that's what this letter is for. Now, if there were issues that we came up with during the audit that were kind of maybe best practices or insignificant that are needed to, be considered, but do not change our opinion on the financial statements, we would include that in this letter. And I'm happy to say that there were none. So again, as I mentioned earlier, that basically tells you as a board that all your policies and procedures that you've put in place over the years are in fact being followed. Okay? So, and that then provides for good fiscal financial reporting responsibility. Okay? And then finally, I'd like to thank Beverly and Rick and the staff here because they have the hard part of going through the audit process. They have to sometimes answer questions about things that may have happened 18 months ago. And so really it makes our job a lot easier, and it also provides for a more efficient audit and a timely audit. So, thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions at all for Kyle? Kyle, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you guys' good work that you do.
Thank you.
I know there's some organizations that view the auditor as like the police officer. I don't view them that way. I view them as our partner to help us
Definitely.
to be
Definitely.
good
Yes.
at what we do.
Yep.
So really appreciate your good work. Rick, did you have any comments or anything that you wanted to make?
No thanks, but please have a motion to accept.
Okay. Do we? Is there a motion to accept the audit?
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Kyle, thank you very much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your good work.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Before we go on any further, I wanted to wait until everybody was here. I'd like to introduce a couple new members of the board. This is David Geislinger. He took the spot that was previously held by Mr. Bill Murray, and we're glad to have him on the city council and on the board. And sitting at the end of the table is Yolanda Avila, and we're glad to have her with us as well. And with Yolanda is her guide dog Puma. I've told the other people this many times, but Puma, I've described Puma as the best-looking male council member that we have, and there's nobody that can dispute that. He's a good boy. But welcome, guys. We appreciate you being here. Let's go to the Citizens Advisory Committee report. Jim, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Glad to be here. Jim Godfrey, chair of the chair of the CAC. Care of the CAC. It's not even 4 o'clock yet. Yeah, right. So welcome to the new members. I chair and the current chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee. So what I'd like to go over today, rough our meeting, just to point out a couple of things. We were presented from the Investment Committee report that you'll receive later. We have a favorable recommendation on that committee's recommendation to you. We also took a look at the amended budget document that will be presented to you today as well. And I just would like to point out that we had no problems with it, but in the city's portion of that budget, where they were talking about some projects in their plan for this additional money, we did have the discussion about Policy 10, which is the notification of the board, notification to the board of any projects that are lane dieting or lane reductions. And so they are aware of that, and we're making sure noted that any projects coming forward, that we would all be informed of that coming forward. But
And Jim, before you go, just for our new council board members, I'll use research as Parkway as an example. That this policy's been in place for over 10 years, and the board was not notified when it was going to be reduced, and so it was just the board reevaluated that policy, and it's not necessarily looking for approval, it's looking for notification, so we're aware of it. Thanks, Jim.
Okay. And the third item, we did have, the city brought forward 9 contracts for approval. 5 of those, if you remember from last month, we had the discussion about the equipment rental contracts and the $500,000 times 5 that the city was asking through the CAC process. The CAC approved $100,000 for 30 days, pending them coming back with additional information on those contracts. So the city came back to us. They did provide the additional information in terms of bid sheets and all the equipment listing and this kind of stuff that we came back for. And just a point of clarification, they also lowered the total dollar amount from $500,000 to $200,000. And so they're now asking for 5 contracts with a cap of $200,000, not to exceed. So so what you'll be seeing, they're not asking for an additional 200, it's a $100 more than what was approved last month for a total of $200,000. That wasn't clear to us in our memo. I haven't seen the board member whether they clarified that or not, but we did have that discussion. So it's 5 contracts for a total of not to exceed $200,000 apiece. And we also approve the remaining 4 contracts. So
you recommend approval of
recommend approval of all of those as presented.
Okay.
And that's about it from the CAC meeting.
Is there any comments or questions for Jim? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the CAC report? Is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good. David, you got yourself in the minutes. That's good. That's a good move for your first meeting. Yeah. That's great. Okay, let's go to Good News Bev again for our financial report.
Okay, good afternoon. So for the new members, the PPRTA doesn't receive their sales and use taxes except it's 2 months in arrears from the state. And we receive it from the state, and the RTA pays the state a collection fee. Whereas like El Paso County receives it through the state, but they don't pay a collection fee. We're a special district, so that's how come we do that. But for the month of April, which we just received, we received almost $7.8 million, and the budget for the month is $6.9, and so we're $850,000 over budget for the month, or 12%. And for the year, we're $2,757,000 over budget, or 10%. Now, this budget is the amended budget that we had approved 2 months ago, and we're having another amendment this month. Normally, we would only have one amendment when we receive the financials approved through the auditor. We don't receive them, but when you receive the financials. And then that way we know what our actual audited carryover is for each of the line items. But this year, since we had such high sales and use tax, we had a first amendment because the member governments wanted to get busy and appropriate those funds so that they could actually use them this year. Sometimes it just gets too late in the year where they can't get enough work done, and so that's why we have a second amendment this year.
Yes, Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so realistically, from what was originally budgeted to where we are now, we're really about $12 million over what was originally budgeted.
The first amendment was 5, and then this amendment is 6 million.
Yeah, so 11.
Mm-hmm. So another thing, too, is that the RTA has a policy of having a 10% reserve. And so 3% of it's TABOR, and the other 7%, it's a board-designated reserve. So in the past, a couple of times, if there was something that came up during the year, the board could appropriate some of that 7%. But the board policy is then to pay it back out of the next year's budget. So that's another thing that we don't really talk about too much, but it is possible to do that.
Do we need to return any this year?
No. It hasn't been appropriated probably the last 5 years, but earlier on, it was appropriated for transit several times, and then paid back the next year out of the next year's budget. But as revenue goes up, it can work well to kind of smooth out maybe a down year or something that's very specific that happens in a project that's beyond, what was anticipated when the budget was done up. Okay? So on page 2 then, this page compares the 2016 sales and use tax receipts to the 2017, so actual to actual. And right now, we're ahead $2,629,000, or 9.6%. And I think the city's ahead a little bit more than that, like 11.2. But then they have an extra month in there also, so, because they're ahead as far as receiving their revenue since they collect it themselves. So page 3 through the end of this report, just puts the sales and use tax in a revenue and expense summary. And then you'll see other items in there like public transportation, fare, and advertising revenue. So far, we've received $1.4 million, and interest earnings so far almost $300,000. And then the other items are all expense items by the public transportation, maintenance, and capital categories. So, are there any questions?
Any questions for Bev? Anybody in the audience that has any questions? Okay. Bev, thank you very much. And this is for information only. Let's go to the Investment Committee report, and I do believe we have an action related to this that the CAC has recommended to us.
Right. So the Investment Committee met, and that's comprised of finance people, or one finance person from each of the member governments. And who's ever available to meet will meet to consider investment and banking type of changes. So we had a $10 million CD that rolled over in December, and it was only 0.35%. And we're, with interest rates rising, and interest rates are going to continue to rise for a while, it was determined it would be better to cash out the CD, even though it had a forfeiture amount of almost $9,000, because we would still be ahead for the rest of the 6 months of this year by $26,000. And now that interest rates are going up again, it'll be more than that. So the Finance Committee recommended cashing that out, and the CAC agreed with that decision. So, and it's up to the board, and if you vote yes, then I'll cash it out and put it over at Cullo Trust.
Okay. Is there any questions? Is there a motion to this effect?
I moved to cash our $10 million CD and reinvest it.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any other discussion? Anybody in the audience?
Ask
Yes.
for it in ones or 20s when you cash.
He's speaking for someone from Green Mountain Falls. That's all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Bev, let's go to this is a second amendment, as she mentioned before. Just so you know, we're going to get a presentation today, and then the action we're going to be isn't to approve the amendment, but to set a public hearing date for July 12th. So what comments would you like to make related to that?
Okay, so the process then is usually for the board, it's a two-meeting process, one in which it's a workshop like today, and then the second one, and you set the public hearing date, and then the second one, the public hearing date, you might not have any questions, or you might have a change that you ask for today, but then you would approve the budget during the public hearing, for the public hearing date. So I'll do a quick overview of the budget. And then it's up to you whether you would like presentations from the member governments or if you want to just ask questions, because you've done it both ways. So I'll go over the overview and just think about how you want to proceed after I'm finished with that. On page 1, like I said earlier, we have in this amendment an additional $6 million that we're adding to the estimated sales and use tax revenue. And so after the reserve adjustment of 10%, $600,000, we have $5.4 million to allocate to capital, maintenance, and transit. And capital is 55%, maintenance is 35% of that, and transit is 10%. So the next section, then, the capital allocation is by a percentage that is very close to the 2010 census, but it's allocated to the member governments this way because the original lists that were compiled by the member governments and then put into the ballot measure were, the estimates were these percentages here. So very close to the 2010 census. And then the maintenance allocation, number 13 through 18, is the exact 2010 census. So that's how they receive their allocation for the sales and use tax, and transit gets the 10%, and they did not estimate any additional transit farebacks revenue with this amendment. So that summarizes the increase in the revenue with this amendment. The pages 2 through 4 just put in a columnar format the different components of the RTA budget, the 2016 expenditure carryover. So those are the audited figures, that the unspent funds from 2016 compared to budget. That's what those numbers are. And then the 2016 revenue carryover represents the amount of revenue that is in excess of the 2016 budget. And that was $5,627,000. And it was approved in the first amendment to the budget. So the new numbers are the 2016 expenditure carryover, and then the fourth column, the additional 2017 revenue of $6 million. So just puts it in financial statement format there. The next pages, until we get to the end of this packet, are the member government's explanation of what they plan to do with their allocation of the revenue. Page 16 outlines in numbers the administrative budget, and this was approved last December, and it hasn't been changed in the amendment process. We had things in there that were a little higher, like a lobbyist in case we needed one, and a little bit more legal for the Walmart lawsuit, but it doesn't appear, at least so far, that we're going to need that, and we won't need the lobbyist because that period's over. So any monies that aren't spent in the administrative budget then get carried over next year. So we don't carry it over in administrative, we allocate the savings or the amount that doesn't make it up to the budget to transit capital and maintenance. So then the last page of this document is the reserve, the 3% Tabor reserve and the 7% board designated reserve. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Beth on this? Okay, what I need is a motion to set July 12th as the public hearing date for the second amendment to the budget.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anybody in the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Before you leave, Dave and Yolanda, the reason I refer to her as Good News Bev is for about the last year, she's always come in with figures above what was budgeted, so that's what's made her Good News Bev.
Well, and someday it's going to reverse, and then it kind of bad news bad. And that kind of goes with my name a little better, you know. But that will happen. Okay.
Thanks, Bev.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's go to the 2017 capital maintenance and public transportation contracts with the City of Colorado Springs. Good to have you.
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. We've got 9 contracts for you to approve. The first 5, as Jim mentioned, are the construction equipment rental contracts. Those are on-call contracts. The memos that we have in your package, we are $200,000 per task order, not to exceed $200,000. We didn't change them because we didn't really execute the first ones that were approved last month. So basically, what you see now, what we have is the 200 is the original contracts that'll be issued. So we didn't see a need to change those. Next item is RTA maintenance. It's for a construction contract to do some storm repair underneath 26th Street for $29,000. That's coming out of operations and maintenance budget. Item 7 is a cured-in-place liner for another storm sewer repair under Uinta Street for $25,000. And then we have Pikes Peak surface improvements. And I believe Kathleen will speak to that a little bit. But we have a bid out that's going to open next week. And we're kind of close to getting everything done, so 2C can come and overlay that stretch of Pikes Peak. So we're asking for approval for a lump sum not to exceed $600,000 of RTA money. And we'll open bids and award it, so we don't have to come back in July to the board. And the CAC approved that. And then the last item is it's kind of a joint project where we're using the missing sidewalk funds to do some sidewalk on Arcadia Street near Patty Jewett. That also happened to be one of the Tabor refund storm sewer projects that they had one there. So we're going to get it together and combine the $179,000 of the city money with $93 of RTA, do the sidewalk, curb and gutter, and also put in some storm sewer and just finish that whole stretch.
Good. Appreciate the coordination. Is there any questions for Mike? And Jim, my memory is that these are all recommended for approval by the CAC.
That is correct. I think Kathleen.
Kathleen?
Dispute it.
That's okay. Kathleen Krager, City Traffic Engineer for Colorado Springs. Mike mentioned the Pikes Peak resurfacing. This is Pikes Peak Avenue that the city will be surfacing downtown. So it basically runs from Cascade to its connection with Colorado Avenue at the Catalyst Campus intersection. This is a 2C project for a good portion of it, and then we are using PPRTA money for the portion between Nevada and Colorado Avenue to do more median work and to get some bike lanes in. The entire section of Pikes Peak from Cascade to Colorado is going to be road dieted. It will go from 4 through lanes to 2 through lanes. We have done capacity analysis at all the signalized intersections for AM, midday, and PM peak hour on Pikes Peak. Currently, it operates at level of service B, which is, in traffic engineering terms, as an urban traffic engineer, phenomenal. And when it is reduced to 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, it will also operate at level of service B at all intersections. We will not be removing any turn lanes. The turn lanes that are there will stay there. The outside lanes will be removed. In the section that is not PPRTA money between Cascade and Nevada, there will be a buffer lane behind the diagonal parking and then a bike lane. And between Nevada and Colorado, we will be adding diagonal parking to the center and putting in a raised median, just as Pikes Peak has on the other section. And then next to the street, we will add parallel parking, and it will be a parallel parked buffered bike lane, meaning the bike lane will be next to the curb and gutter and sidewalk, and then you will have the parallel parking, and then you will have the travel lane. This provides an important bike lane for the city that connects to Shook's Run at the end of Pikes Peak. You might be aware that Pikes Peak itself ends in a dead end right at Shook's Run. So we will be taking that bike lane directly into the Shook's Run bike lanes on the trail. And it will then connect to Cascade, where we also will be striping bike lanes as part of a repaving project this year, but no road diet on Cascade through downtown.
Okay.
So if you have any
for
questions?
Yes. Tyler?
With the intermodal aspect of the project you described, you mentioned the diagonal parking. Those will, of course, be back in diagonal?
They will not, because they will be in the median and not next to the bike lanes. And the existing diagonal parking between Cascade and Nevada will stay as pull-in, but we will have a buffer. There'll be about a 5-foot buffer, so when you back out of those spaces, you'll have 5 feet before you get to the bike lane, and then another 6 feet before you get to the travel lane. So you'll have a better opportunity to back out and look around that really large pickup truck or SUV that always parks next to you, and that type of thing.
That's my truck now. Let's be careful.
Okay. Trust me, my car doesn't see around it. It's back-in diagonal parking is one way of doing it, and we are trying that out in small areas of the city. And once we feel assured that I will not be hung up, tarred and feathered, I'd like to consider it in a larger area.
So you say you're never going to do it?
Yeah, okay, well, maybe.
You have to just be prepared for the tar and feather.
We do have a block of it by the Ivy Wild on Navajo, and it took a while to get established. People would park in really weird ways, but it's been up and running for a while now, is very well used, and people use it correctly. So once you get used to it, back-end diagonal parking is very handy to use.
And very safe.
Yes.
Especially
Safer.
pulling out. Yeah. Lajinos?
Do we have diagrams of this, and did this get a public forum discussion?
Yes, it did. We had 2 public meetings, and I believe we're having a 3rd public meeting downtown, run by the Downtown Partnership. It was also included in the Downtown Master Plan that was approved this year, and in the Envision Shooks Run Master Plan that was also approved. So this has been something that the city has been planning for a while now. Not on Policy 10. Policy 10 is just informational.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the?
Oh.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Dennis.
Start, you know, or?
I believe that the repaving on Pikes Peak is in August,
Yes.
so,
So it's still gonna be going on while the Cimarron project's still going on.
oh, yes. To be truthful, it's going to be a busy time in downtown. This summer, we will be repaving Pikes Peak, Cascade, Weber, Rio Grande, and Caceres, all this summer. So there's a lot to be done this summer.
Good luck getting around it, Dennis.
Yeah, just bear with us, you know.
You know, one of the things that you need to know is that the city has connected their systems and their work to Waze. So if you use Waze, it'll transport you around these construction projects.
Yes, you can also go to the city website and see an ever-changing map of construction zones so that you know where our construction zones are.
Where's the link to the diagram of how
Oh,
this looks? I'd like.
I'm sorry, do we have a diagram here today?
Yeah, if Beth can get,
Help, guys?
oh, there we go. So, this is, yeah.
Okay. This is Nevada, and for the first block after Nevada to Nevada and Weber, we will keep diagonal parking on the south side because the post office is on the south side, and it is diagonal parking that's really well used, so that we didn't want to interrupt the post office customers. So that will be diagonal parking. You see the buffer, and then the bike lane, and then the through lane. We'll be adding diagonal parking in the median on the north side, 1 through lane, and then you see parallel parking here, and there's what we call a door buffer, so your passenger door can't slam into a bike. We give them a little extra room, and then the bike lane on the north side. And then as you go block by block, all the way to Colorado Avenue, we will continue to have median parking and parallel parking along the sides. And I wanted to let you see, when Pikes Peak Avenue curves around and goes to Colorado Avenue, currently that's a fairly awkward movement. You have to make separate right turns and left turns. We're going to smooth that out into a smooth transition. There will be a half circle, we call it the moonabout, but there'll be a half circle to the north side that really, it's not there to operate so much as a traffic circle as it is to take people around and provide them access to both the Pikes Peak dead end, which is this leg, and to Corona, which is this leg.
That's good.
Does Corona currently go through?
It does. And it's terribly confusing and awkward to use. So we're hoping that this makes it a lot easier. You'll notice that the bikes cross here and they end up on a 2-way cycle track the rest of the way to the Shooks Run.
Any other questions for Kathleen?
That's great.
Is there a motion to approve the request? Is there a second? Someone?
What are you approving?
Your request?
All
Yes.
the contracts.
Go ahead, Yolanda.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's keep going to the reports. Transit Services report. There he is. Thought I saw you out there.
Good afternoon, board members. Craig Blewett, Transit Services Manager with the City of Colorado Springs. For our new board members, 10% of PPRTA funding is dedicated to transit activities. So with that, we provide a monthly update to the PPRTA, both CAC and board, that includes information on ridership and some other activities that are ongoing that are notable and we should be sharing with the board. So in this month's report, we are showing our ridership numbers for local service, which went up about 4.2% compared to last year. So in our information that we provide the weekday ridership, Saturday ridership, Sunday ridership, our revenue service hours, which is the amount of service we put out on the street on a monthly basis, and then our average boardings per revenue service hour. And then we also show our ridership compared to the same month the two previous years. So we have information for 2015, 16, and 17. On our EDA service, we had a 4.4% decrease compared to the same month last year. One explanation for that could be that in 2017, this year, there was one less weekday and one more Sunday in those days of the month. And we have considerable more ridership with our EDA service on weekdays than we do on weekends. Vanpool is still low ridership at this point. Again, we're kind of losing the fight, I guess, with regard to gas prices. But again, to comfort to the board, we only run the number of vans that are serving the passengers who are riding. So we don't put empty vans out on the road. We fill up the vans we've got, and we just have fewer running this year than compared to last year. The big project information to report on is our downtown transit center. I think I've been reporting on that the last couple of months. We are making progress. The steering committee has formulated its recommendation, and it's going to be presenting its recommendation to the mayor of Colorado Springs as soon as we can line up a meeting. With vacations and busy schedules, it looks like that's going to carry over into July, that meeting, given that recommendation to the mayor. But it's been really good work by the steering committee, following up on the work we had with the consultant that identified our final three sites, and it's been the work of the steering committee to prioritize those three sites and give us the top priority site to pursue. So good work going on there. And finally, to report on, as part of the quarterly report that's provided from member entities of PPRTA, we list our contracts, and those are the contracts with PPRTA funds greater than $25,000. And so we provide that on a quarterly basis in terms of what the total contract amount is and what our expenses are for the previous quarter. So we've provided that information in this report as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Craig? Yes.
Just a comment actually. So I use the free shuttle in Manitou Springs all the time, and I just wanted to pass on that it's highly likely we're going to need to have more shuttles in the near future, right? Whenever we can fund that and make that happen. But I mean, we have people waiting, not for a terribly long time, but on the weekends there is always a line of people waiting for that shuttle. It's so well used. But what I really wanted to pass on is how awesome the drivers are.
Good.
And I mean, they're so friendly. They're super careful. As you know, Ruxin is very tight quarters. And I also just, a little quick aside, is so fun when I get on and just chat with them for a little while before I tell them I'm the mayor. And then tell them I'm the mayor, and they're so thankful that I'm on the shuttle, and they can't believe they're meeting the mayor, and it's just, which, to me, I'm just riding the shuttle as a resident of Manitou Springs,
Right.
But it's really, they're very professional, and I'm always very pleased with how they handle themselves. So
Well,
thank you.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear that. And, of course, we're thrilled with our partnership that we have with Manitou. It's been a great program, and I think it's just working. It's one of those things where I think I've mentioned this before, that when you look at a total package in terms of parking management, what you need in the city and what Transit's role in doing that, that's where Transit's most successful. So, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Craig?
I do.
Yes, Yolanda?
So, so everybody knows I take public transportation. I use the fixed routes. I use Metro Mobility, and I use the cabs that they have contracts with. And so I'm thinking many times during the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, fixed routes don't go places. So as a result, when I want to get a Metro bus, I'm not able to go there on Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm wondering if that has to do with the decrease as well. And so, and also I have a question. Is it locked in the 10% that we give Metro, that we give Mountain Metro? Is that locked in
Yes,
by
yes,
the
it
ballot
is.
and all that? Okay.
That's according to the vote on the PPRTA.
Yeah, and I know the shuttle works great, but I go to a chiropractor down there in Manitou, the $15 chiropractor, and it's a drag actually to have to do the transfer from
On the Route 3.
on the route, you know, that it doesn't go straight through, and Craig's explained that they can't meet the on time, but it's just to have to get off again, you know, get off at the terminal and then get off there at the shuttle spot and get on. You know, for a sighted person, I think maybe it might not be a big deal, and if they don't have time constraints. And because Manitou, usually you don't have time constraints. You're going there to hang out and have a good time. So I wanted to mention that. And that's it for right now.
Craig, any comments regarding?
Yeah, just real quick on the 10% question. I might point out that you know, of the 55% of PPRTA that's dedicated to capital projects, Transit does have some capital projects in there as well, and that typically serves as our local match for federal funds for capital expenditures. So that's important to us as well. In terms of, I think the difference, we mentioned the difference in ADA service on weekends. So it is comparing, you know, the same service year to year. But you're right, on weekends, because we provide less service overall, we aren't serving disabled with our, because our service for people with disabilities mirrors our fixed route operations. So if we're not running a route on a Sunday, we're also not providing ADA transit on that day too. So great observation there. On the connection of the 3 and Manitou shuttle, a great sign of success of Manitou is the traffic congestion they have on Manitou Avenue. And our buses were getting hung up in that traffic, and we couldn't keep them on time. And that's why we decided to have that breaking point where we did to not get caught up in your success, Manitou's success.
Mayor?
Caught up in our success. That's good. So, Yolanda, I do want to say, though, that there are quite a few residents on the west end of Manitou Springs and up Ruxton who do have a hard time and definitely have voiced their dissatisfaction with the Route 3 not coming all the way through. So I don't have a great solution for that. I guess I just want to say that there are residents that have the same perspective as you do on that, and that we are working to make that stop. I don't know if you've had to deal with weather at all in your transfer or waiting as well.
Well, I avoid not going if the weather's not
Okay.
optimal.
So the shuttle stop, or actually the bus stop, is still in the 106, Section 106 review, because it's next to Historic District, and in fact, we're voting to re-include Hiawatha Gardens into the Historic District, so it's a good thing we're going through the review. But we are going to put up a temporary structure as soon as we can on the side of the shuttle, so we do need to do that. Even if it's not raining or snowing or windy, man, it's hot, so that will be, it'll be good. So anyway.
All right. Thank you. David?
I just have a question.
Sure.
And I'm looking at the numbers. It looks like approximately 1,500 hours a month more this year than last year in terms of buses on the road.
Yes.
Can you tell me when those buses are on the roads? Is it timed? Is it different? Is it weekend versus weekday? Just a general idea of where that 1,500 is accomplished.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. I can get that information to you. It'd probably be the best thing to do. But we've been adding frequency to buses during the weekday I believe we added some Saturday service as well, but I can get that information to you.
And also, just if there's a way to monitor what the ridership is on those additional 1,500 hours.
Sure, sure. It's safe to say that as we're adding more off-peak service, we are going to bring down our boardings per hour.
Right.
Because we're not doing the sort of the highest demand service. We're doing some additional service that serves the community. And so it's something that we've been talking about as we've been adding service. I said we are expecting the number to go down. We're not going to want to go down a lot, but we will. I'll do the best I can to do that. Our service changes are in the spring and the fall, and so it's not by calendar year. So some of the information I'm going to give you isn't going to be real cut and dry in terms of apples and apples and oranges to oranges.
David, just to make you and Yolanda aware, you may have known this, but after the economic downturn, there was a great reduction in the dollars that the city did, and as a result, leadership of the city did not keep up with the maintenance of effort. And
used to ride the bus before the economic downturn.
yeah, and since Mayor Southers has been on, he used a 2-year time, and we are back to the maintenance of effort. But the cost of operating is higher now, so we're still, to me, we're still not there. But that is a significant part of it.
Thanks for being a customer.
I just want to
I'm sorry.
make
Go ahead, Yolanda.
and I don't even know if this is the forum, but I represent the Southeast, right, District 4, and that's where we have the highest unemployment rate, where we have almost 8% unemployment rate, and in the rest of the city, I think it's 2.3%. And we were cut bus routes in the southeast part of town, and I'd like to know, because that's part of the barriers to employment, from getting from one end of town to another, or even around the southeast to get to the major corridor of South Academy Boulevard. And on South Academy Boulevard, I want to see when, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So if we provide all that transportation, and like you said, initially it might not have as much ridership, but after a while, and when those routes are in places that work or that could be effective for my district, what are we looking at there? Increasing routes there in my district. For me, myself, I have to walk 1 mile to get to my first bus stop. And, and that's just to go downtown, which is less than 3 miles. So I really want to work on this because I just want to know where we are in increasing frequency in Southeast and a couple more routes that goes throughout the Southeast to get these people to the services, to their jobs, to medical care, et cetera.
Well said. If I may respond, on the earlier agenda item with regard to the PPRTA budget, in our memo report we mentioned that in terms of where we're going to use those additional funds, where we're proposing to use those, is with an increased service in 2018. And among the services we're looking are increased frequency on Route 27, which is South Academy Boulevard. We're also looking at a partnership with Northern Hospitals to provide transit services, adding service on Union Boulevard, adding Saturday service on the route that goes to Security Widefield, Sunday service on several routes, and some additional Saturday evening service as well. So those are our candidates. We do have the opportunity to expand service next year with PPRTA funding, and so we want to go through a process. We have done an analysis of all of our routes, one by one, to look at their performance. And if high-performing routes are good candidates for additional service, whether it's additional frequency during the weekday or additional off-peak service. And, of course, if we have underperforming routes, we also have a protocol there where we try to do some things to improve the ridership, but if it fails to improve, then we look at reducing that service and reallocating somewhere else. So we're going through that technical process right now. We're also going to have a public process to make sure we get public input in terms of what service changes we should be looking at for next year as well, and we'll be coming back and reporting on that to this board.
Thanks, Craig. And Yolanda, one other thing to tag on to him, because I've been working on this with Craig. He mentioned getting connection to the Northeast hospitals, and with Children's Hospital being built, the Women's Hospital being built, all of those things connected. Another thing that Craig is working on is also connecting to Pikes Peak Community College
Yes.
because there's some jobs training work that's taking place there that will have a significant benefit to the jobs need that you mentioned in the southeast part and all the way down into Fountain and Whitefield. So, thanks, Craig.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report. This is also information only.
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez again. We don't have any change orders, but we do have a couple of task orders that we issued. When we approved the on-call contracts for consultants, one of the questions was how we're going to track that, and Rick kind of is the main gate for that, but we said we'd bring back reports. So last month we issued a couple of task orders to one to AECom for Briargate and Voyager intersection improvements, and then one to CH2M for work on 21st Street by the Midland Trail.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, let's go to the quarterly reports from member governments. Rick, I believe you'll be taking care of this for us.
Yes, sir. Rick Sonnenberg, Pikes Peak RTA Program and Contracts Manager. The quarterly reports from the member governments are required at a point that's 50 days after the end of each calendar quarter to come to the CAC and the board. This is required in a separate set of intergovernmental agreements, IGAs, called the comprehensive IGAs. So that report, the quarterly reports are within the packet from each of the 5 member governments, and as this is just an information item, I'll take any questions you might have.
Questions for Rick on this? Thank you. Is Jennifer here from the county?
She is.
Yes.
There you are. I just wanted on behalf of the board, the ribbon cutting was an awesome thing, and it was a much needed project, and I want to thank you for putting on a great ceremony there and doing a great job of getting that work done. That's going to have huge benefits to all segments of our county and city and communities. So I just wanted to thank you for a great job done. Yes.
Well, in addition, there was the commander of Peterson Air Force Base expressed in PPACG this morning that he was incredibly thankful that project is completed, and it's definitely easing traffic tensions getting on and off Peterson.
Thanks, and I'll pass that on to staff. I just make sure everything goes where it should be and make sure my staff has the resources to do their job. But they did an incredible job, Dennis Barron, the project manager. And I just want to thank city staff as well. They were integral in making that project happen, and we had a lot of coordination with all the entities. And that's just, like I said at the ribbon cutting, it's a great example of why the PPRTA was formed and why we are successful. So I'm pretty proud of that project. I'm proud of all the projects that all the member governments have completed, and just want to thank everybody's support and all the elected officials' support. We really enjoy working with all the other member governments, and I think this organization is just great. So thank you, and thanks for attending, and there was good food too, right?
Great food. Jennifer, I use this as an example a lot of time, but you're talking about the coordination and how important that is. And in 2C, in the first year, and some of you know this, we insisted that there be coordination between the city and the county and the utilities so that we didn't dig up a road within 6 months of paving it. And national average of cities our side is that happens about 20 times a year. Because of that coordination, last year we had 0. The huge benefit for that. Well, the coordination you had with the city and the county and all those involved was huge. It makes a big difference.
Thank you, and we look forward to a lot more, right?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Should we do the resolutions even though they're not here? Yes. Okay. Let me deal with this first one. I'll read this and then I'll ask for a motion to approve. This is a resolution by the Pikes Peak Rural Transit Authority Board of Directors acknowledging appreciation to the City of Colorado Springs Director Bill Murray. Whereas the City of Colorado Springs is a member government of the PPRTA And whereas Bill Murray served as the City of Colorado Springs council member from 2015 to 2017 when he served as a PPRTA board member during that time, and whereas City of Colorado Springs Director Bill Murray has served the citizens of the City of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region with distinction, now therefore be it resolved, the PPRTA Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge their deepest gratitude to the City of Colorado Springs Director Bill Murray for his commitment to regional transportation planning and projects with his wise counsel and for his dedication to the advancement of the transportation projects of the Pikes Peak Region Transportation Authority. Resolved and approved and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Pikes Peak Rural Transit Authority this 14th day of June 2017, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Is there a second?
I second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. The second one, and we have a hard hat for her. It will eventually have her name on it. But this is a resolution acknowledging appreciation to El Paso County Director Peggy Littleton. Whereas El Paso County is a member government of the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority, and whereas Peggy Littleton served as an El Paso County Commissioner from 2011 through 2017, when she served as a PPRTA Board Director her entire term as a County Commissioner, including serving as PPRTA Vice Chair in 2015. And whereas El Paso County Director Peggy Littleton has served the citizens of El Paso County and the Pikes Peak region with distinction. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority Board of Directors wishes to acknowledge their deepest gratitude to El Paso County Director Peggy Littleton for her commitment to regional transportation planning and projects, for her wise counsel, and for her dedication to the advancement of transportation projects of the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority. Resolved, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of the PPRTA this 14th day of June 2017. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval.
Second?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we will make sure that these get passed on to those individuals, but we did need the board to take that action. There's not an executive session, is that correct, Jennifer?
That is correct. I can give an update under
Let's
number
go
12.
to item 12 then and let you give an update.
Perfect. For the new board members, I guess I'll give a little bit of background first. We're involved in litigation involving the Walmart store in the city of Fountain. Sounds like you're at least familiar with that. Essentially, the dispute arose that parcel of land was previously in an unincorporated El Paso County, and therefore within the PPRTA boundaries when the PPRTA was formed and when they also then re-upped the tax in 2012. Subsequently, it was annexed into the Fountain city limits, and the Walmart was built there. So a dispute arose between Fountain and the PPRTA regarding whether or not the PPRTA's sales and use tax remained on that parcel after the annexation into Fountain. We think it's fairly clear that it does. The Department of Revenue agrees with that position and has been collecting the tax, but Walmart sued us, and we prevailed in the lower district court last year, and they've appealed the matter to the Court of Appeals. The update that I have today is not very exciting, but it is the first step, which is that the record on appeal has been certified by the clerk of the court. Essentially, that means that all the deadlines start running. So within 42 days, Walmart files their opening brief, and then 35 days later, we file our brief, and then they have 21 days to reply again, and then the court will set oral arguments a couple months later, and then take about a month to actually get a decision. So, yeah. Well, that's Peter's best guess. And I should have mentioned we have special litigation counsel that the PPRTA has retained, Peter Forbes, and he's been working on this matter. We don't drag him down here to tell you these mundane details, although he would be happy to come down as the case moves forward. So essentially, his best guess is that sometime in the December-January time frame, we could have an answer from the Court of Appeals. So.
Great. Just so you know, David's a recovering attorney, so that's great. Former assistant district attorney. So, any other questions for Jennifer related to that? Are there any board member announcements? With that, then yes.
Sorry.
Were you eating a brownie or were you eating the?
I already scarfed down the brownie, but I was eating strawberry. I just want to say that 2C's already been brought up, and bike lanes and all that kind of stuff. I rode my bike for the first time in a really long time from Manitou Springs to Woodman and I-25, and I only had to get on a busy road once. And the bike paths are incredible. Things look amazing. The tunnels are in good shape. I mean, everything was just fabulous, and it was so cool. I mean, it's so obvious I'm in government now, because in the past, I would have just gone, right? And this time I'm like, oh, there's rocks there and detention ponds here and da-da-da-da. So I just wanted to pass on that everything that the city and the county and everybody says they're going to do is happening, and I was very pleased.
Well, and when West Colorado is completed, it will be even better.
You know, that's all downhill. I want to know if you rode your bike back.
A, it is not all downhill. That's what I thought.
It's predominantly downhill.
But B, no, I did not ride back.
Okay. Are there any other board member announcements? Okay. Then I will adjourn this meeting, and let's take a 10-minute break, and at a quarter till, let's get back together with the CACers.
Back when we had the UPass shuttle, let's cack it up.
Let's cack it up. That's right.
So take the shuttle bus down, pass, and then ride up